What do you think? Do you buy the U.S. because we think we're going to see an improvement in trade talks, or are you worried about the U.S.?
No, I still think, trade talks, Turkey contagion, there's definitely some feeling that there's going to be continued weakness for the next, 3, 6, 7 weeks or so. The other thing that's been weighing on international is the dollar strength. It's been significant this year. And for U.S. investors coming off the back of some really nice gains last year, it feels a little bit early to jump back in, especially to emerging markets at this juncture. Small cap stocks have done really well, which makes sense. Very little dollar exposure, very little trade exposure.
And you're saying ride that, go with that.
I think right now it makes a lot of sense. We still haven't felt the full benefit of the tax reform that we got last year, and small cap companies also benefit from that. So there's kind of that trifecta of things that I think are going to continue to see that rally.
Jamie, you stay here in the United States when you see this 400-point gain today?
Well, I differ with Shannon a little bit. I think that right now emerging markets are definitely the place that you want to try to find some extreme value. Outflows in emerging markets are starting to peak. We're starting to see, some of the signs of bottoming in those markets. And a lot of people have conflated the problems in emerging markets with energy-related issues when they should be focusing primarily on technology. So if you focus on technology companies within emerging markets, what you're going to find are some of the largest companies in the world that are doing incredible things in their own economies. So I think that there's some really good places for you to find. India, for example, Reliance is a great place to look for an e-commerce play, telecom play. You've got C-Chip in China, talking about travel and things like that. There are a lot of interesting stories there that are a lot less expensive than the U.S. counterparts.
So you are not worried about any stress that may be showing up in China at this point? Because that would really have an effect not just on the Chinese market, but also the other emerging markets.
It would, but I think you're at a point now where that's sort of playing itself out. It's not like these stocks are at all-time highs. You're talking about these particular economies and stocks being beaten up. So this is actually a good time to be picking them up while the trouble is going on. You don't want to buy it after it's over. Now is the opportunity set that presents itself. So yeah, there's some issues, but I think that it's going to play itself out over the next little while. And if you're really serious about investing in these companies, it's a good time to buy them.
Shannon, I saw you nodding your head when Bob Pisani was talking about how people on Wall Street are not taking down their numbers in China yet, maybe 6.5%, 6% growth rate at this point. Boeing is one of those companies that's rallying big time today. They've long been considered a proxy or a symbol of our trade relations with China. Does that tell you that even though the Chinese economy may be slowing down to some degree, we can still come to some sort of a trade agreement with them and help the multinationals in our country?
I think that's indicating that. I think the other thing that we always need to remember with China is that it's a state-run economy. Right. So there's a lot of latitude there, and so they're going to be very thoughtful about what they're going to need to do to incentivize companies to continue to be competitive. And I think that's the other thing is that we look at it from an emerging markets perspective in general. Long-term, dollar trend is negative. The dollar should weaken over time. But right now, I don't think necessarily stepping in front of that, particularly with some comments about, GDP growth, slowing in China. We're still talking about 6% growth. You can't get that elsewhere, and the government's backing that. So I wouldn't say I would bet against China over the next near term.